Tata Grandinetti. I'm so excited, a little bit nervous for my first town hall ever. Thank you so much for being here. I see a lot of people I know from knocking on your doors, and also a lot of people I don't, which is really exciting. But if you have had a chance to talk with me, you know that I always talk a lot about how community engagement, real community engagement, is really important. And that we are always going to do our best work when we get to come together and when our community is informed and empowered to get involved in the decisions that impact our lives. People always say this, but I really do feel that we're in unprecedented times. We have a lot of new, very urgent, big problems on top of all of the ones we already had. And I think that the more minds we can get and opinions we can get in one room together, the better we can tackle those challenges and really protect this community that we love so much. So I'm really grateful to Council Chair Tommy Waters for not only coming, but also bringing a whole crew of folks from the city who are probably best prepared to answer a lot of your questions and concerns. And our agenda for tonight is we'll get an update from Council Chair Waters about City Council and some projects going on in the district. I'll share some updates from the state, and then we'll get briefed by these good folks here. Some housekeeping, we have restrooms out that back door, snacks over there, and if you didn't sign up yet, please, before you go, sign up for our e-newsletters so you can stay up to date on happenings at both of our offices and get lots of good resources from the city and state. With that being said, before I pass it off to Council Chair Waters, I want to say thank you to you and your team. A lot of the calls we get in my office are about issues that are really under city jurisdiction, and it feels so helpful and good to know that when we pass our community members off to your office, we're not passing them onto an empty phone line. We're passing them onto our partners who are really going to work with us to solve these problems. So, appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rep. Grandinetti. Isn't she doing a wonderful job for our community? Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tommy Waters. I'm their council member for this district. And as Rep. Grandinetti pointed out, I have a really, really terrific staff, and I want to just take a few minutes to introduce them to you so that when you call our office and you need help with anything, you'll know who you're talking to. So this is Allison Yanagi. Allison, just raise your hand real quick. Alan Du. You guys ever heard of Lee Wai Du? That's Lee Wai's son, Alan Du. Alika De Paloma, Natasha Luke, and Olivia and Tanya. Yeah, but we also brought with us today the Director of the Department of Transportation, Roger Morton. So if you have any transportation questions or issues, and I wanted him to just let you guys know what work that we're doing in the district. We also have Major Tanaka from HPD. As you guys know, you have chiefs, and then the majors are right below the chiefs. So we got really a high up guy here today, and he brought the community policing team with him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you have time, come check out the booth because they got a lot of really, really good information. We also have Kelly Akasaka. She's the chief engineer for the Department of Transportation Services. She's in charge whenever they do engineering things, which is just about everything. She's the chief engineer. And then we got Roy Mirahira. He's the new homeless director. And there's a lot going on in our district dealing with homeless, as you folks know. And I was just telling Roy that there was a guy sleeping in my garage. By the way, I live on Poco Head Avenue, right up the street from the Civil Beat building. But real quick, give me a microphone, I'm gonna hog it all night, and I wanna make sure everybody else gets a chance to talk. But cost of living issues are a big deal for all of us. I'm the 5th of 6 kids. We're all born and raised here on Oahu. but all my siblings moved to the mainland because they cannot afford to live here. The cost of housing is, median price of housing is $1.1 million. Rent is astronomical. So there's a couple of things we're trying to do to solve some of those problems. Right now, there's two bills that I'd love for you folks to testify on. Increasing the homeowner's exemption. Bill 49 for Pupuna. If you're 65 years or over, right now you get $160,000 exemption. Bill 49 will raise it up $20,000 to $180,000. And then everyone else from $120,000 to $140,000. So it's not much. It's going to save you about $70 a year, but every little bit counts. The other thing I want to let everybody know, there's a deadline coming up on September 30th. September 30th. We have a policy at the city that if you make $80,000 or less, your property taxes are capped at what your income is. But you got to apply by September 30th. And if you need more information about that, we can get it to you because it's really important. And it's been on the books for a long time. It was $65,000. We raised it up to $80,000. And we're looking to possibly raise that a little bit more. But cost of living issues are a big deal. I voted no against the sewer fee increases, as many of you know, because I'm really, really worried about that. Yeah? We did have an idea on how to lower the sewer fees, and I'm going to keep at it and try again next year. Development. Have you guys ever heard of the Primary Urban Core Development Plan? In Honolulu, there's a plan called the General Plan. And within the general plan, we identified two areas for future growth. One is in the primary urban core, which runs from Kahala all the way to Pearl City, and then the Ewa area. And then the rest of the island has what's called sustainable community plans, yeah, which guides future growth. And we have an East Honolulu sustainable community plan. Anyway, on the Primary Urban Core Development Plan, which Kaimukī is part of, what the planners did, there's permitting and planning, yeah, DPP. The planning side, they talked about future growth right here in Kaimukī, and they wanted to allow 6 to 8 foot story buildings along Waialae Avenue and all the way to Kilauea Avenue. And then on the other side of Waialae Avenue, up to Ke'anu Street, up to 6 and 8 story buildings. So I said, no, knowing from walking door to door, and we got to keep it Kaimukī all over the place, right? Kaimukī is a special spot. So I fought with DPP, fought with the Planning Commission even, but ultimately the City Council had the last say, and I amended the bill to say, no, it's back down to what it currently is, which is 1 to 3 stories is allowed, for most of Kaimukī. And that, by the way, came from your Kaimukī Neighborhood Board and the Kapahulu Neighborhood Board, which a lot of you, I see members of the board here, and thank you folks for being here. But that was a priority for us. Monster Homes continues to be a priority here in Kaimukī. We find that these unscrupulous developers are knocking down perfectly good homes, and building these monstrosities, right? And the problem is, when you got 10 or 12 unrelated people living in a tight-knit community like this, where parking is a prime spot, as you know. And on my street, everybody knows where everybody parks, right? It's like, ooh, when you see a different car there, you know something's up. But there's a monster home on my street. DPP revoked the permit and then gave it back to them. But I met the owners, and they said their family are going to live there. There's another one on Sierra Drive that you guys, it's been in the news for a long time, but we've been fighting against that one. They were revoked, their permit, they appealed, there's a trial, they lost the trial, right? But they recently submit a new permit where they're trying to say that the garage is going to be extended, and the garage doesn't count towards the footage, and they're saying now we're not a monster home. Well, I call that shibai, right? But I have to change the law, believe it or not, to say that the garage should count towards your floor area ratio and should be part of the square footage. And basically what happens is if you have a big house again, on a certain size lot, you have to have a bigger setback. But I think we only allowed 5 minutes for me, so but well, I'm gonna save some time to answer questions for you folks, because there's a lot going on. Queen Theater, want to talk about that later too, right? We're trying to condemn it. We've been working with the owners for years and years to get that beautiful theater restored. Could you imagine if we could have ukulele performances from the ukulele studio across the street? There's a ballet studio. They could do their performances there. All the restaurants would benefit from all the patronage. So it's worth, according to the tax records, 3.1 million. I'm thinking that might be a good use of taxpayer dollars. And I'm also going to try to raise funds outside to help offset the cost and refurbish it. Last time it was open was 1976, and those of you who know, remember the billboards on what kind of movies was playing there. We don't want to do that again, right? Anyway, Tina, I'll turn it over to you, and then if you don't mind introducing everybody.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep it short too. I have so much I want to share. I think I'll just give a quick sort of recap of last legislative session, and then look forward into some of the challenges and issues we're going to be facing in the 2026 legislative session. So last session was my first. I was assigned vice chair of the Transportation Committee. I was on the Housing Committee. Many of you know that my background is in kind of community-based housing policy to prevent gentrification and displacement, and I was on the Finance Committee. I can talk a lot more about my experiences on those committees, the work we did there, and my personal bill package, but I'm just going to give a kind of like high-level view of what happened at the legislature last session. So the difficult part was we were working under so much uncertainty because of first the cuts to federal grants, the freezing of those funds, and then waiting on the continuing resolution and the federal budget. About 20% of our state budget comes from federal funding. So it was really difficult without knowing what that 20% would look like to make effective and forward-thinking decisions about policy. That being said, I think we did some really good work. I'm sure many of you heard about the historic green fee that we passed, which raises transient accommodation tax and applies it to cruise ships for the first time in order to raise revenue for conservation, climate resilience, and destination management to really make sure that our tourism industry contributes to the long-term sustainability of our home. We also passed a fireworks bill that I think will be really effective. It increases the penalties for illegal fireworks, but also creates like infractions and citations, like traffic citations, so that we can give a ticket for someone putting off an illegal firework instead of having to take them to court, like convict them, all that kind of thing. So I think that's a really positive accomplishment. And then the brightest spot for me this session was that we expanded access to free school meals to thousands more keiki in our public school systems. And we got a commitment from the governor to work towards a plan so that in 5 years we'll have universal free school meals for all of our children in our public schools. And that's so important when a third of our households in Hawaii are food insecure. Let's see, I'm trying to think of any other really good ones that stand out. Oh, we tackled the condo insurance crisis. This one I didn't know much about, but many condo associations are seeing massive increases to their insurance rates, and that has really serious impacts to the cost of housing, especially for a lot of seniors who live on fixed income and live in condos. What we did was reactivate the Hawaii Hurricane Relief Fund, which essentially creates an insurer of last resort through the state. And in the weeks since it's been implemented, we've had several condos sign up and onto a HHRF policy, but the most important thing is we've seen the private market lower their rates significantly in response. So it's one of the few examples I can think of a policy that had pretty immediate and drastic success, and we'll have to keep monitoring how it goes because the insurance market, can be really volatile and unpredictable. But I think that's a win for now. Disappointments. Like many of you, I want to see big changes. I want to see transformative changes to these problems that are really structural and systemic at this point. And I sort of always feel like we're not doing enough, but I, in particular, felt we failed to deliver on promises to implement meaningful campaign finance reform and ensure that we, make progress on good government and clean elections. But I'm hopeful that we're going to keep pushing. And I was also, a big part of my campaign was my support for paid family leave. People have been fighting for it for years, and it would help so many people. I want to start a family, pretty soon, and that would be huge for families like mine. And also so many families in our district that are taking care of kupuna, but also working jobs, and maybe also taking care of kids that are not school age yet. We didn't pass that, but we did pass a measure to do an actuarial study on what it would cost to implement and exactly how we could do it. So I really hope that one day I'll be able to stand here and tell you that we accomplished that goal. Looking ahead to 2026, the biggest lift for me and for all of my colleagues at the legislature will be to understand the impacts of the federal budget on Hawaii, particularly around key services like Medicaid and SNAP. That stuff is really scary because we have 400,000 people in Hawaii who are dependent on Medicaid, and initial estimates are saying anywhere from 40 to 60,000 could lose their coverage because of things like new eligibility and work requirements. With SNAP, 160,000 people rely on SNAP every month, and we're seeing big cuts to that, and the state's going to have to take on the administrative costs, which we've never had to do before. And the kind of horrific thing is that our food banks and food pantries won't be able to sort of step in to fill the gap because they've also had their funding cut. The Hawaii Food Bank has had $4 million in federal funds cut. So those are really hard issues that I don't have answers to yet. I'm going to a national conference of state legislators, a bipartisan conference next week, to try to learn a little more about how states and legislators across the aisle are trying to deal with these things. But in the immediate term, the legislature last session set aside $50 million in emergency funding for community organizations and nonprofits that were facing federal cuts, and allocating those funds is going to be really important to ensuring that they can at least last a little longer and help people for as long as they can. We also set aside dates for a special session. That's looking a little less likely to happen, mostly because a lot of these impacts aren't going to be felt until after, or they're not going to come into effect until after the midterms, so we have some time to prepare. But if that's something you really care about, please be vocal about that, get in touch with me. And then going into next session, I think our biggest, for me, the sort of guiding star will be to make sure, to try everything we can to make sure that these essential lifelines stay intact, because once programs, social service programs fall apart and you lose employees, you lose your clientele, it takes years and years to recover from that. So we need to try to do damage control. I think a big question will be, how do we put as much money, resources, and support in the hands of working people while also being bold and compassionate in asking that the people who are doing well contribute their fair share to make sure that all of us are safe and cared for. That's all I have for now, and then we will pass it on. Who wants to go first? You're right next to me. We have Major Tanaka of the Honolulu Police Department, and then after this we'll have lots of time for a Q&A, so.
Thank you for inviting us. First of all, I'd like to introduce the gentleman to my left. As you know, as a leader, you can't do anything unless you have good workers. And I've been fortunate to have good officers under my command. And I'll start off with my watch commander, that's Lieutenant Leonard Nishimura, and he's the one with the leg. And the last 2 weeks, he's actually stepped up to the plate because my captain had to, leave to go back to the mainland to care for his mother. So Leonard was my acting captain for the last 2 weeks. He did an excellent job. Leonard, if you could introduce our officers.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. We're glad to be here. I just want to introduce the community policing team. First, I'm just going to introduce Sergeant Carl Jurison. He's a sergeant of the community policing team.
Sorry, thank you. And you'll introduce the rest of the CPT. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Sergeant Carl Jerson. This is Corporal Rodney Dumuyeg, Officer Courtney Goodness, Officer Daryl McCall, and Officer Derek Suzuki of the ATV team.
The reason why I wanted to introduce, especially our community policing team, is that for those of you who don't know, you have our patrol officers, and then you have these gentlemen here, the community policing team. So what is the difference? The patrol officers are, as you can imagine, they're just going from case to case to case. They can't really sit down and talk to the complainant and kind of solve their problems. They're more so generating the cases, making sure the scene is safe, things like that. In progress cases, robberies, things of that nature, assaults, domestics. Where these gentlemen come into play is that some of you have complaints that are kind of like goes beyond just the say hi and bye to the officer. There's a little bit more depth. For example, let's say you have your neighbor whose mango tree is dropping mangoes in your yard and you're getting irritated. And you call the patrol officer, he looks at it, he says, yeah, that's dropping in your yard. You don't like mangoes? There's free mangoes. But so that's where we would divert our resources to the community policing team. They're able to meet with the complainant in a one-on-one situation, and they will sit down and talk to not only the complainant but the other party involved and come to a mutual agreed solution. And it's sometimes, it's the partnership together. They put their heads together and to come up to something, because the last thing you want to do is have a poor relationship with your neighbor. I mean, most of us, right? So that's where they come in and, they'll show up in plain clothes, so sometimes we're kind of shamed. We don't want to have an officer parked in our front driveway, and then, the neighbors are, hey, what's going on? So they can also meet you at, like, let's say a McDonald's or someplace away from your house and talk story with you. But again, kudos to these gentlemen here, because they solve a lot of our cases and our problems that go beyond the scope of our normal patrol officer. So if you have one of those kind of situations, don't hesitate to speak to one of these officers, get their numbers, and they'll be happy to help you.
Before I introduce our next speaker, I'd like to just recognize and thank our principal for Liho, Alan Lee. Is Alan Lee here?
Over here.
There he is. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. By the way, in February, this school is going to be 100 years old. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. This is Roger Morton. He's the director of the Department of Transportation Services. And we're just talking about how I met him walking door to door. He lives in our district, and he's a great guy. And he works super hard for our community. So, Roger Morton, thank you.
Well, aloha. I'm happy to be here today. I love Kaimukī. I'm an East Side guy. I grew up and went to Kalani High School. So sort of love the place, love this side of the island. I don't have a mango tree, but I do have a banana tree that goes onto my neighbors. And yeah, we made it a long time ago. We made a truce. Anything on his side, he got them. So that's what we do. But I'm with the Transportation Services Department. My background was always transportation. Far back as I can remember, I drove a taxi for Charlie's, and when I was going to college, I worked at UH and drove a truck when I was at UH. I worked for the bus company I worked for the city first, I worked for the bus company for many years, and now I'm the director, and I've been there for about 4 years. DTS is a multimodal agency with a lot of transportation things that are inside it. First and foremost, we are your transit operator. We have a great bus system that I'm very proud of. We're developing a very world-class transit rail system that I'm very proud of. And we have Handyman, which I'm especially proud of because it serves so many of our kapuna in so many different ways. But we do more than that. We also operate our streets. We do a traffic engineering. I'm going to introduce Kelly in a few minutes because she's the first female traffic engineer for the whole city that we've had since the start. She does a great job. She knows half of you guys already just by the number of meetings and by the number of occasions that we have. But Kelly does a great job in trying to make our streets safer. That's our prime priority in transportation, is to just try to make our streets safer. We're in kind of a bad year right now. You've all been reading the newspapers that we just got too many crashes that are preventable crashes, and we just got to do more to do that. We have an active Vision Zero program, Complete Streets program, trying to address them, trying to just make our streets safer. Where we put those in, we can see the drastic reduction in the incidents that they have in those locations we put them in. Because that's what we look at. We look at when we put something in, we look at what did it do for the last 5 years, and then we measure it going forward. So happy to answer any of your questions, and happy to probably pass the mic on to my good partner, Kelly Okasaki.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, Kelly Transportation Engineering Division Chief. Hi, thank you. I also grew up in Kaimukī. I'm a Sacred Hearts graduate. Grew up in St. Louis Heights, so this area is also close to my heart as well. So we get about 1,600 complaints every year, island-wide, that has anything to do with traffic. So our division takes care of operations, which is anything from speeding, crosswalk concerns, signal concerns. We take care of parking management of the 16 parking lots, including Kaimukī parking lot here. I also have a traffic safety and alternate modes branch. So in that section, we have safe routes to school, we have our bike coordinator, and we do CIP projects that help with traffic calming. So our section is really big. Out of the 1,600 a year, maybe half are about speeding. Everybody in the island now wants speed humps. They want to slow down speeding. And like Roger said, we're at 44 fatalities. Annually, it's about 50 a year. We're at 44, and it's July. So what we're trying to do is slow speeds down and educate about pedestrian safety or just motor safety. Our biggest problem that we have now is mostly e-bikes and what they're defining as e-bikes, which aren't really e-bikes. So I mean, we deal with all of these problems island-wide, but we're here tonight to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Next we have Roy Miyahira. He's our homeless director, our coordinator. Thanks for being here tonight, Roy.
Welcome, thank you very much, Chair. And welcome, not board members, but friends of Kaimukī. I'm very happy to be here. I'm a veteran of the city and county for the last 5 months. I'm learning a lot. Let me give you a little background on myself. Born and raised on the east side, like most of the folks here. Went to the public high school on Kalaipuhaku Heights, as my Punahou and a lot of friends would tell me. That's St. Louis High School, by the way. Graduated from University of Hawaii and just loved living here. Like some of the folks that we know about now, some of the kids now, I found my way, an opportunity in the mainland. So I spent most of my career, professional career, in California and throughout the country working for a corporation, mainly in the field of logistics and operations and some customer service involved. So I got to learn a little bit more about how you move, not just product, but services to the end user, which are people. And after 35 years and find yourself not bored but ready to retire, I did retire. And came back home to help my parents. History and spending a lot of time with my family and friends, kind of reuniting myself with them. But I felt that there was some type of urge to give back to my community. And it sounds like a cliche all the time, especially if you're away for a long time. But I felt that there was a need to give back because I hadn't done much of anything in the last 35 years being away, except coming back and eating the delicious food and going to the crack seats that are up Cocoa Head Avenue and all the delicious places here in Kaimukī. So when our charismatic mayor, as you would know, offered me this opportunity to take on this type of role, I thought that is a perfect role for me. First of all, because I've done some caregiving in my life, being a primary caregiver and then helping my father when I came home. Secondly, I felt that a logistics operations background could fit into a role like this. Because we're trying to move services to folks who sometimes aren't wanting to buy, that might not want to trust your product or your services or what you have to say, and having to influence them to get to that part where they say yes to us. That's part of logistics, part of operations. I felt that was right up my alley and helping our homeless population, not only just on Oahu, because I experienced people from all over the mainland who come here, but of course mainly on this island. So that job to me is probably going to be, without even being through 4 or 5 months, will be the most fulfilling, I say, endeavor in my life that I can talk about for the rest of my life once I retire after 4 or 5 years. What we have done so far with our homeless population, it can't always be measured. I think they do what we call a point-in-time count every 2 years. Our federal government asks our Partners in Care team to count how many folks on one night, how many homeless folks that we think there are on this island. It can't always be accurate, as you probably don't think, because there are folks in some crevices, in cars, under areas of even school, possibly in Diamond Head that they can't count. So my number always goes from, let's just kind of multiply that by, or add 25% to it. This makes the job probably even more challenging. So how do we go at it? So the city's put together a strategy before my time that I feel is innovative. Because I've studied what they've done in San Francisco and San Jose and Texas and possibly other parts of the country, the East Coast. I think they have it right. But what they haven't gotten right to me, and I've seen it successful here, is they've gone at it with a housing first type of attitude. And that maybe we have a facility, right, that can house folks who are homeless without maybe taking on their needs. Again, there's specific needs. What we've done in the last 2 years, maybe before my time, is create beds of many flavors. It's basically saying, we understand your needs, and there might be about 15 to 20 type of needs. You understand how complex the homeless situation is. We're trying to build these type of beds and facilities that meet these folks' needs. I know the most difficult ones are going to be severe mental illness. We see that probably almost every day. That person who is basically out of their mind or out of their body and can't stop screaming, over at a bridge. Or those who have substance use disorders. Of course, we don't find faults to their predicament, but we have to find ways to treat these folks. I know the third one, I'm not saying it's the last place, but there's also socioeconomic factors involved. Folks losing their jobs, folks trying to escape maybe a domestic situation that they can't really control. All those 3 factors are weighed in as to how we create these beds in these facilities, so we can more accurately address the situation. Now, in my first four months, I think we'll pass my five minutes, but I'm going to keep going if you don't mind sharing. We tried to take on some of these encampments that we feel that could breed a possibly criminal activity. And Our HPD team has been very rewarding to me in that they're able to do more kind of deep work and let me know as to who we should probably try to not break up, but try to separate. It makes it easier to me if you break up a large encampment and get these folks by themselves. So they're at that point of clarity to me, where you can go in there with an outreach team and try to convince them to see the light and change their ways and come to our facility. That's part of what we're trying to do in the city. We're trying to identify these encampments that are hard to get to, but I do know you know them. That you can call my office, call me, and let me know where we can try to help these folks. So parts of our strategy, I would say, are unique. I think they've been very successful. We've added over 750, again, beds of many flavors, 750 types of beds in facilities, not only in our metro area, but in the west, in the Wahiawa area, and here in our backyard, near Diamond Head, the Yaki. There's a center right there. And we also have our emergency shelters called Honu near the old stadium. So we're spread around. We know there's some areas that we need to get to and have more facilities, like possibly more in Wahiawa, possibly more in Kaimukī or Kailua. We know we are a little short there, but that's where we're working as well. That's all I have for tonight, but I know we have a questions and answers period. Be more than happy to answer your questions moving forward.
Thank you so much, everyone. We're gonna open up. We have 50 minutes to talk story. And there's Emily. We're gonna just be coming around with a roaming mic, but if anyone wants to get us started, feel free to raise your hand.
My name is Randy Ford, and I'm in Kaimukī Avenue, and this is an issue for both Councilman Waters and also Representative Grandinetti. Something that actually literally flows into both your zones, and that is the Department of Education has a building right there that has been very poorly maintained. In fact, it's so poorly maintained that on Kaimukī Avenue, we have a big problem of dead trees that have been there for many, many months, trash that's being thrown in there, and it's not being cleaned up. The sidewalks are unsafe. People are walking on the street to go around all the overflow from all the dead trees and the brush that's there. And it's raising a lot of chickens too. So it's quite an area there. The problem we have there is that we've asked the Department of Education to clean it up because A, it's unsafe to walk on the sidewalk, and also, more importantly, this is not a matter of saying, oh, we're real prissy, we want to have a clean sidewalk or something. Normally, the sidewalk's totally covered often, and then once in a blue moon, the DOE will sweep it up. And the other day, our neighbor, who's 80 years old, was out there sweeping with another neighbor, voluntarily cleaning the thing up. So it'll stay, bless our heart, it'll stay clean for about a week, and then it's going to get totally covered up again. But the reason it's important to us is not only is it unsafe and unsightly, but we have a real problem right there. We have a residential street, and people park over there and they think it's no man's land. They dump trash. I've hauled mattresses out of there, car batteries, lots of trash. We're constantly picking stuff out of there. And there's a mentality of people where, if you're familiar with broken window theory, people see that there's trash, all this garbage over there, unkept areas, and people's minds, they park there and they add more trash and things like that. And we also have problems of cars parking there illegally overnight, ditching cars, an issue for the police that they are constantly calling on. So we talked to the department, we're trying to get a hold of the Department of Education, and frankly, we're getting pushback from them, from the Department of Education. They're saying, well, we don't have money to deal with this. And bizarrely, that I even talked to one of the maintenance guys, and I said, I've got a saw. I got a power saw. I can cut this stuff up, put it in a bag, you guys can just haul it out. And their answer was, we can't do that because we don't have green waste capabilities to dispose of. This is government run amok. If these guys can't even figure out in the Department of Education how to deal with some bags of green waste because they don't have a contract for it, that's unacceptable, frankly. Someone in the Department of Education has got to be able to say, look, We got some guys with pickup truck in some of the area, they've got greenway stands, we can take care of that. Instead, we just get nothing out of Department of Education. So frankly, there's a lot of issues going on, don't want to take up any more time, but frankly, for councilmen and representatives, some of us would like to have a meeting with you, where we can sit down and explain to you the pushback that we got, and why we can solve this problem. And again, it's more a safety and security issue, that there's crazy stuff that's going on over there across the street, because it's just seen as a wild area.
What's the street again? Yeah.
Panini Avenue, at 22nd.
I remember you walking me down there when I was canvassing. Thanks for bringing that up again. We can definitely work on it this
The
stage.
property, well, I'm also a neighbor there, Gary Penalty. The property address is 475 22nd Avenue. It's a very large property, but one side of it borders on the other.
Thank you. No, thank you for bringing that to our attention, because we've done, on the city side, we've actually had crews come out from the Department of Facility Maintenance. When it goes on into the sidewalk, that's the city's business. But what Rep. Grandinetti and I can do, working together, is lean on the Department of Education as well and say, this is a priority for us. And I also have a truck, and I'm willing to help you out, a chainsaw, and I'll go out there and cut it up. Because actually, the Department of Facility Maintenance will come with a truck and pick it up. They do that when we go in and clean the streams. They'll come and pick it up for us. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So, now. So everybody can.
Hi, so my name is Charlie. I live close to Kapalua Park, and it's a park. There isn't a crosswalk from where I live, which is 11th Avenue and Kilauea. I was walking my dog across the street, and this car was nice enough to let me cross. And as I was crossing, this idiot lady and I overtook the car, and she almost banged me. There's no flashing light, or there's no crosswalk or anything. And I don't understand, why is there no light to say it's a park? There's kids going back and forth, there's elderly people crossing. I mean, isn't there anything to indicate it's a park? Or, yeah, there's no crosswalk like till ways down.
And in the hills coming to.
Right, and people have been speeding like you would not believe.
Yeah, so we can. Okay, yeah, so we can look into that. So we can look, this is 11th and Kilauea. Yes, and then we'll look at crosswalk markings or like park warning signs. We'll address all of that. Thank you. And then talk to me after, I'll get your name and number so I can reply back to you after we do our study. Thank you, Chuck.
And also, just so you know, working with Roger Morta, we did pass a law lowering the speed limit near schools. Maybe we could do that for parks too, because lots of kids at the parks. Roger?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big, and then, you know, there's a lot of 25-mile-per-hour school zones, so it's a pretty big lift for us. We're gonna start out with working within each council district, gonna pilot it a little bit, but 20 miles an hour, 20 is plenty for a school zone, and that's our model that we're gonna be rolling out, is, you know, that we just got to do something to, you know, to solve this this crazy epidemic of people just driving too fast in neighborhoods.
But you know what, nobody pays attention to it. And there's, you know, because we're close to Diamond Head, there's a lot of tourists, and they just.
So we also work, you know, I mean, we'll do a lot of things if we get complaints about speeding. Speeding is, you know, a lot of problems, and there's lots of different things in our toolbox. They're not, you know, sometimes they are speed humps. We're doing those in many areas around the island. Many times, speed humps are not a good solution for a particular area, and we have other things that we do. We can certainly look at pedestrian crosswalk, and make them safer, mark them better, light them better, put a refuge in the middle of the road if we have enough space that we can do that. Because one of the things about that it sort of has troubled me when I came in. We took a lot of crosswalks out of neighborhoods. The federal highways standards now and their data shows that just painting lines on a road is not enough. You have to, I'm talking about a multi-lane road, not a two-lane road, but on a multi-lane road, it's just that there's too much distance. People are driving too fast. For our kapuna, for others with disabilities, for other people, they walk slow. And so we have to do other things in order to make it. And that's what, we are at the city. Even in your neighborhood, we have a complete streets program that we are looking to try to make a Kilauea Ave a better Ave for that. I don't know if we go as far down as your street. We probably don't in that project, but throughout the island we have, I think we have, we just got a federal grant and we have, I think we're programming like 200 locations for what we call quick builds. Quick builds are things where we don't really pour concrete. Paint does a lot and those kind of things. And those are going to be item-wide rollouts that we're getting ready to. Not quite in Kelly's division, but quick builds are. She doesn't have to engineer them too well, and we're doing that with our complete streets folks.
The other thing I wanted to add, one of the things that we do when we call our office and tell us that these things are going on, we call them hotspots. There's a couple of them. I didn't know about 11th and Kilauea, now we do. But the other hotspots like 22nd and Pahoa, where people are coming down, they just drive so fast. 16th Avenue and Wildlife, a lot of accidents there. And working with the Department of Transportation to find a solution. 16th Avenue, you know that spot, right? You want to go straight, but you can't for the left turn. But we'll work together. So if there are hotspots like that, my office has been calling HPD, and they'll send somebody down there to spot check. HPD can't be everywhere all the time, but they do their best to try to get down there. I see a bunch of people with their hands up.
I just want to add to that. So we do have grants coming out. So we just passed a bill, like Roger said, where we reduced the speed limit at all schools to 20 miles per hour. The hard part is that there's 200 schools island-wide. So for me, I have to change out, over 1,000 of these 25 mile per hour signs now to 20. So we do have funding in the council that gave to us this fiscal year, $500,000, and that means that I can hire a consultant. We can fabricate these thousands of signs and have them go up one by one and change them all out. But that's just too much for our in-house Department of Facility Maintenance to do. Secondly, we have a grant for Safe Streets for All. We do have projects in this area, and I'll briefly tell you about it. Wildlife Avenue, we're looking at putting in those solar rapid flashing beacons. So you push the button and it'll wag the flashing lights. Specifically on Wildlife Avenue, we're looking at 2nd Avenue, which is right by 7-Eleven and City Mill. We're looking at 4th Avenue, which is by Times. And we're also looking at 14th Avenue. There's a few crosswalks between Coco Head and the next signal, which is 16, that are there that are not quite used as well. So 13th Avenue will come out, but we will put a flashing light at 14th Avenue, just to consolidate them a little more to get them a better place for crossing. Kapahulu Avenue, we're also doing the same thing. So there are 3 intersections on that stretch as well that we are going to put up these solar flashing, rectangular, rapid flashing pedestrian activated beacons. So Date Street was our first one. If you notice on Date Street, close to, right behind Iolani School, that one should be up and running now. We are getting funding to do all of these kinds of things, small things to kind of help, just to help for pedestrian safety. So I just wanted to share that.
A lot of my career has been spent in the traffic division. I was a solo bike officer, I was a lieutenant, a captain, and a major in the traffic division. And in those many years that I've worked there, there's one thing that I saw. When you get a pedestrian V car, the pedestrian always loses. Okay, so my point is that pedestrians are what we consider vulnerable users, street users. So it's incumbent upon you to look out for your own safety. You can't expect these cars to see you. I think it's ludicrous that I see people crossing the street, not even looking over their left shoulder to see if a car is going to make a right turn. I mean, you know, how many of you have this mentality that as long as I'm in the crosswalk, I have the right of way?
I see the homeless do that a lot.
Yes, I mean, so that's like the mentality you're gonna get killed, okay? Because as you know, people have cell phones, they're tuning their radios, they're thinking of where they're gonna go to shop or whatnot. So my point is that the best thing you can do, we teach this to even the kids that when we go to talk to them, is you have to make eye contact. You have to assume that the car does not see you, okay? If you have that mentality and you're looking both ways until you get across the street, chances are you'll make it. Because every time I see a fatality statistic, especially when it's a pedestrian, this is exactly what happened. You have a car coming like this, and you have a pedestrian coming like this. That's what you have. That's a fatality right there, right? That's what you have. A few seconds this way or a few seconds slower this way, it would have been like that. So my point is that what is causing these people to die? It's not like these pedestrians woke up that morning and say, you know what, I think I want to die today. None of them, but yet it happens, right? So I urge you to remind your loved ones, your friends and family to take their safety into their own hands, especially when they're pedestrians. And also, on the other hand, as drivers, right, like the woman was saying earlier, if you see somebody slowing down, assume that they're slowing down for a reason. And that's normally because there's a pedestrian crossing. So don't just assume they're slowing down and overtake them, because we have many pedestrian fatalities happen that way.
One question opened up this whole discussion around transportation. But for me, for the state side, it's important for each of us to be diligent, but we also have to design policy for our most vulnerable users. If we know that a car will always win against a pedestrian, we have to design our streets and our roadways to make sure that pedestrians are safe. And so I'm really excited. I was on the Transportation Committee, and this year we passed 2 bills that create dedicated sources of funding for a program called Safe Routes to School, which is one of our best tools for completing our pedestrian and bicycling network and making sure that our roads are safe for all of us. I believe that Kaimukī should be one of the most walkable places on the island. We live so close to everything that's amazing about like urban Honolulu, and it's still, we get trees for shade. It's pleasant to walk around, but it's not safe yet, and that requires real public investment and a commitment to making sure that you can let your kid walk to school because you aren't afraid of them getting hit, So I think that we made some progress there. The other thing I wanted to share is that if you are interested in these transportation issues long term, the Department of Transportation recently came out with their report in response to the Navahine settlement, where they have to decarbonize our transportation system and complete our pedestrian network. That draft plan is out now, and if you want to provide public comment, now's the time to do it and really shape our transportation system moving forward. Okay, next question.
So my question is, probably has 3 different prongs to it. I live just a couple of doors down on 8th, and there's a monster house, 15 bedroom, 10 bathroom. It's just a couple of doors down from where we are. And the parking has completely transformed since these people, there's 2, 3, there's families that live in there. So 2, 3 cars per bedroom adds up pretty quickly. I think they only have like 5 car park spaces. So the overflow ends up right along the edge here, from the street corner of 8th and Mauna Loa back to, I guess it's as far as it could possibly go. But the road is quite narrow already. And I'm gonna say it's probably just barely bigger than a 2-car length, or 2-car width, just in this one section. So, unfortunately, all the cars are parked there from the monster house, and everyone's welcome to come visit during drop-off or pick-up at school time. And the chaos that ensues in this street corner because people are backed up, people can't turn on, turn off, kids are crossing the street. My own daughter and I walk across the street every day and back every day. But the causation of it goes back to this monster house and the parking stretch. I think that there's probably more than one person in this room who's impacted by it if they have kids at this school. So those three different things, parking, monster house, DPP, which they do have a permit. I looked them up, they have a permit to build this giant, I don't know how many bedrooms the permit for, 15 I believe. What is the reaction?
Thank you for pointing that out. Once they get the certificate of occupancy, there's not much the city can do to combat that. But what I was doing when I get the complaints during construction, I pointed it out to DPP. I've even started reviewing plans myself to see whether or not it complied with the ordinances that I wrote. But what I do think we can do is look to see, because there's an ordinance dealing with, you can't have, I think it's over 5 unrelated people living in the same household. So if there's that, I could probably get DPP on that and do an investigation. If you don't mind, well, I'll go drive by there on the way home, but we could get the address from you. I'll have my staff come down, let you write it down, and we'll get DPP to look into that for you. Thank you, sir.
The microphone's right. Follow-up was the traffic. The follow-up was the traffic caused by, I mean, that's really the issue, is that the whole area is impacted by the monster house parking fiasco. I mean, I don't know how many cars there are, I can probably count, maybe 15 cars of total, and there's only 5 spots.
Is this a new home that just came up?
It's I think it's permitted 2019.
Okay. So what we can do is we can do a study when school goes back into session and actually see what the effects are. And what we do at schools is we work with the school to ban parking, during the drop-off and the pickup times, just to kind of provide better circulation for the parents. And then after those times, say 8:30 when school is in session, then they're allowed to park back. But at least that makes people, turn over, move their car, circle around the block, look for another stall. But then it would help for the parents as well, especially by school. So we can look into that too. I'll get your name and number after this as well.
Hi, my name is Tim Apicella, and I just want to express my gratitude and thanks to the Department of Transportation, specifically Kelly. Thank you for coming out to our community yesterday, our condo community on Lunalilo Home Road. We had a resident killed in the crosswalk, and our community is very distraught. And your presence in the Department of Transportation is really appreciated, and it goes a long way helping us out. Thank you so much.
Hey neighbors, good evening. A couple announcements. I live on a couple blocks down. Next month, the city's gonna finally pave Home Avenue from 8th to 6th Avenue. I've been fighting it for 5 years when Caldwell was there. And they gave me some bum excuse that the water department was gonna go in and redo the pipe. So they paved all the roads in Kaimukī except for that 2-block area. And I advise you not to hold your coffee when you drive down that road. In regards to one of the statements Tina made, 4 out of 11 people in Hawaii are on Medicaid. How did we get so unhealthy? That formula is unsustainable. Totally unsustainable. Hawaii gets almost $3 for every dollar they send to the federal government. $3 for what for what we send $1 for. And you're crying about not getting enough money? We need to be more sustained on ourselves. We can't be looking for a handout all the time. There's a problem with the parking right here in front of the school. And one of the reasons is, I walk this neighborhood. All the kids that come to school here are coming from somewhere else. So in the morning, the traffic's backed up with people dropping their kids off all the way down Mauna Loa and all the way around. And in the afternoon, it's the same thing. That's a problem that's impacting our neighborhoods. You can't drive around here when school comes in the morning and when it gets out. It's because there's no children around here. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're not from our neighborhood. I know almost every child in the neighborhood, in the whole neighborhood, because I walk my grandson around. He's 14 months old. So those are some of the things. And Chair Waters, the City Council passed this law to slow down the speed limit around the schools. It's going to take them so long. I forget what Civil Beat said, but it's around every school on Oahu. It's going to take them, what, 8 months to a year to change the signs. Instead of 25, I don't understand why they can't just put a 0 over the 5. I'll do all the signs around here, Roger. Thank you.
And see, just a little bit of statistics. In the Kaimukī area, it's a total of 1,271 acres. And our population is 20,878 people. And we have 7,580 housing units. So we are pretty dense, right? This area, our neighborhood is pretty dense. You know, we want to make sure we drive safely and arrive alive. I know we have a lot of questions. Sir, you've been waiting a long time.
I want to speak to the Medicare question, because this is talking across difference, and I think it's really important. But you're right, it's unsustainable. But when we think about how 65% of people on Medicaid in Hawaii are fully or partially employed, that means we have a problem with our healthcare system. And I'm down to figure out what to do about it, but in the meantime, I don't want anybody to be in the lurch. So I think we share some common ground there, but it doesn't get rid of the problem that everyone deserves healthcare, and that we all benefit when our community is as healthy as possible.
Hello, I'm Dayton Cam. I live by Wilson Park. I just want to thank Roger Martin and everything DTS does to keep our buses running on time. But one thing, to speak to that, I walk home from the bus stop every afternoon, and I know you said something about looking both ways before crossing the street. But there's a bridge right there, the Wailanui Bridge. I brought it up to the neighborhood board a couple of times. But it is a no parking zone, but you have to park right there. So a lot of people either park there or wait there. And since it's a baseball field, a lot of people are in their vans, their trucks, and a lot of times I really cannot see over them. And so I have to walk out to the street to the point that I'm basically already halfway through the street in order to see, in order to look both ways. And at that point, I'm like only a few inches from cars that are speeding. One thing I really would like is a little more traffic enforcement, especially parking enforcement, especially along crosswalks like that don't have any protections, RFEs, speed tables, whatever. Thank you very much.
Let me speak to that. Yes. You know, we have way too many cars on this island, and they have to go someplace. A lot of the parking spots in residential neighborhoods are technically not legal. If it's an unimproved area, there has to be at least sufficient space for people to get through. But from my vantage point, I probably have 200,000 cars in a day that are in that same predicament. And I don't have an answer to, your issue is the sight view and trying to navigate out onto the street without getting killed. And I think I have to go back just to, same with Major Tanaka, that in the absence of having like a perfect solution, it is incumbent for everybody to just take extreme caution when you're in a situation like that. We have taken, steps we can. One of the powers that I do have, if you have a hotspot, council member mentioned the hotspots. One of the powers that I do, if we get complaints, what we'll do is we will go and we will study it. We will measure speed. We will see, is there speeding going on? Okay, so there's speeding going on, then my team sort of says, okay, what can we do as a solution? Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it can be, if it's a hotspot, one of the techniques I'll do is I'll write a memo to the chief, asking the chief to step up enforcement at this particular location. And it gets back down to the traffic division, it gets to the district, and that's, it's not forever, but if there's sometimes just a little enforcement like that can help a lot. So that's what we do, though. We take it seriously when you complain. We try to do it with science, with engineering. We have standards, we have warrants that we have to do, we have to deal with. But we take it extremely seriously. Sometimes you'll be, sometimes it'll take us 6 months, 8 months, 9 months to actually do a study and get a solution. Why does it take so long? Because many times of the year we can't study it. For example, right now, school's out, streets are very different, congestion is very different right now. Same thing around Christmas. So our team, we have a small team of surveyors that go out and collect all of this data. That's what we run on. We run on the data, and we do it island-wide. So as Kelly said, I think you said 1,600? Yes. 1,600 requests per year. And then behind those requests, there's a tremendous amount of effort that goes in, but we do take it very seriously. Unfortunately, we just have too many cars, and we have to find a solution for that. Long term, we're putting a lot of stock into multi-modal transportation. We're going to be opening our Skyline segment 2, on October 1st. During that, we're going to do our best to make that our complimentary bus system. We're going to provide much better service from the new end of the rail to town, and then of course, probably after I retired for the second or third time, we're going to get that rail system into town. So those are exciting things for us. I don't know how everybody feels about them, but it's going to be part of our transportation future for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Sir, is that on Malia Street?
Yeah.
Malia Street, yeah, right by Kahalanui on that bridge. I think it's a no parking zone. I've actually gone down there a few times, and a lot of it is parents waiting for their kids to finish playing baseball and whatnot. But I think it's a no parking zone, so. I actually had a question for HPD. If the parents are sitting in the car on a no parking zone, what do you guys do? Is that a ticket, or you just kind of ask those folks to do it?
Okay, so let me just start off by saying that when you're dealing with a parking ticket, discretion is available, right? So, you can see if it's a parent and I'm just talking about what I would do as an officer. My officers might look at it a different way, but if I were in patrol, I would give this person a warning. I would do education. You can't park here. Oh, I'm just here to watch I'm in the car. Well, no, you can't. You might have to loop around or whatever. Have your son call you, but you can't be parking over here. I would go the education route. Again, being from traffic division, my thing that I used to tell my officers is that we want voluntary compliance, right? When the person jaywalks and you're giving them a ticket, the dangerous act has already happened. right? When you issue the citation, the illegal act has happened. What you want is to have the person not jaywalk or whatnot, or double park or whatever. So I would start with the education route. However, that being said, an officer could just, issue him or her the citation, because technically you are still in a no parking zone, right? So to answer that question, that's a misnomer just because you're in your car. All it does is it tells the officer who to give the citation to, because if not, they just write the citation, it goes to the registered owner. So please, don't get mad at the officer if you think that he or she cannot tag you, because that's not true.
The gentleman in the middle that's been waiting a long time.
Okay, well anyway, hi everybody, I live up the street and I'm familiar with all these problems that I keep hearing about here. I have a question, I think maybe for Kelly. Is there a single element that's constant throughout all the accidents that we've been having, the fatalities this year? We're almost up 100% if you go out for the whole year. Is there a common thread on what's causing all these accidents? And then secondly, if I may ask a second question, what's up with this roundabout, or excuse me, working now. What's up with the roundabout at Kaimukī and 6th Street? They got cones around it for the last few months. Is that like not working and they're gonna take it out, or what's going on with that?
I did see the cones there. I'm not sure why they are there, and I'm not quite sure if residents are the ones that are putting the cones out there, but they are not because of a traffic study or a traffic project. As for the fatalities, I can't answer too much, but I do see every single report that comes into my office. We do work with HPD. Out of the 44 this year alone, I want to say half of them are motorcycles. And it's usually the young 20s, motorcycle riders, 20s to 30s in that age, speeding and losing control. And those ones is kind of hard because there's some of them, they're not even involved in another vehicle. It's just, they're losing control, they're banging a wall, they're banging a tree, they're skidding out. About 20 of them are motorcycles this year of the 44. Otherwise, we get DUIs. A lot of them are DUIs. The latest one, I'm still waiting for the report, but was the young lady, the 25-year-old. And I hate to put numbers on them. She's number 44, and I hate to do that, but it kind of just gives you an idea of how many. But this girl is a mother, right? She has 2 young kids. And what we're trying to do is tell people that they are family to somebody. There's someone's child, someone's sister, someone's brother, a parent, a grandparent, even an auntie. So for us, we try to look at every single situation and kind of understand what is leading to that incident. And a lot of it is DUI, unfortunately, and what we're trying to do is just kind of get the awareness out there. Through our program, we teach Kupuna, so we go out, we reach the Kupuna, we have Walkwise Hawaii that we do. We have our Safe Routes to School, so right now, we've been going to all the summer funds to teach the summer fund kids about just pedestrian safety and walking around. We try to do all this education out there, but what we miss is the drivers. So what we have created is a flyer that goes out to the drivers, because every driver has to go to the DMV to get their license renewed. Otherwise, there's no other education that a driver with an existing license has to take. I can go talk to all the peds, I can talk to all the students, I can talk to all the bikers. How do I reach all the drivers? So we are putting out a flyer and making a manual for the driver. Just a reminder, what is the green paint that you see now? What is a roundabout that you see now? And it's all the new things that are coming up that are not in the old 1980 orange driver's manual that I don't even know who even looks at that. Yeah, so I mean, we're just trying to educate right now.
Thank you, first of all, Maui Waters and hosting this town hall. Feedback. I'm surprised somewhat, there's a lot of questions on transportation, I'm surprised at this point that the matter of the rail project hasn't been on, because that's been top of mind. It's a $10 billion project. If biggest infrastructure project the city has ever undertaken, $10 billion. And I really question the value of that investment. My question is, was it take the end of the rail project? Because I've ridden rail systems all over Tokyo. In fact, I just got back from Japan. We did a lot of rail, high-speed Shinkansen going from Tokyo to Osaka to Hakone and Takayama and so on. Spent most of this 12-day trip on rail. And that's a world-class system. Beijing, Shanghai, world-class rail system, high speed. Honolulu rail is not world-class, it's not even close to it. The ridership is way off projections. The initial projections to justify this system was 116,000 riders per day. And right now it's only about 3,000 riders per day, so we're well off the mark. $10 billion is an awful lot to pay. I'm a business major, I don't know about you guys, but there's no return on investment. I would spend that money elsewhere on fixing the sewer systems, the water systems, existing infrastructure, bridges, roads, highways, expanding the bus system, a lot of other options. The rail only services west of Walker. That's about 120,000 population roughly. That's not even half of Walker. So again, I question what you guys are doing and whether folks are smoking out there in the city council. It's serious. Because this is something that goes on the next generation and the next generation after. They're going to be paying for this thing. Big time. Property taxes, sales taxes, you name it.
Paying for it now.
Traffic tickets.
It's going to be paid off by 2031.
2031, right. They want to expand the system to go all the way to
TAT.
Almana, whatever. I guarantee you, if I was a betting man, we're going to add another $3, $4, $5 million to that $10 billion project. What's a good investment as comparison is the James Webb Telescope. It took $10 billion to build that telescope. They launched it in 2021. And 4 years later, it's all kinds of fantastic discoveries. It's changing cosmology, it's changing the study of the universe and the astronomy, the assumptions that we have about the universe. That's a fantastic investment, $10 billion. But a 19-mile rail system for $10 billion is not cost effective. The other thing I would add is that these other populations like Bangkok, which I've been to, Hong Kong, Tokyo, etc., Osaka, they have 10 million populations, so they can afford and they need rail. And it's a no-brainer, basically. It's a no-brainer. When you have 10 million people, you've got to have rail in the multimodal system. We need a better bus system, we need other forms of transportation, but this rail project, I really question the sanity of that. And there's an old saying in business, which I came up in the private sector. The saying is that if the hole that you're digging is too deep, stop digging. Stop digging. Okay.
Well, I guess I'd start by saying, I'm really proud of my 42 years at the bus. But I would say that, rail has been part of the city's planning doctrine since 1967. So it has been a long, long time. And what is, the system we have now doesn't, it really doesn't go to a lot of employment centers. We're going to try our best. We're going to get to the airport where there's 15,000 workers at the airport. We've been talking to the employees there. They're really stoked at the idea that now if you're a flight crew, if you're a flight attendant, you drive your car, you park in a satellite parking area, you wait for an employee shuttle, and the people that we talk to are that's when rail's going to start showing its value. When you look at it from a planning perspective, we're building Ho'opili, we're putting 22,000 people at Ho'opili. We're building Coal Ridge, we're putting 6,000 people at Coal Ridge. We have permits that are available on the west side. And by the way, that's where we're putting all of the growth is on the west side. We're not putting it on the windward side. We're doing some infill in town, but most of the growth is going to be on the west side. And when you figure out and you plug in, okay, so let's say we had a resident population of maybe 35, 40,000 more people than we have today. What is the solution? Is it to double deck the freeway? Is it to widen the freeway around, what are you gonna do around, around Farrington High School? To put in that beautiful field that they have there, but we're very tight when you come in. There's no space for widening our freeways, which is really the only other alternative that we would have. So I hope you're wrong. I think that the projections I think the projections were, initially they were about 108,000 riders per day. I think we have, with truncation and with the other things, that we have lowered our view to about 85,000 a day. I totally disagree with you on your assertion that it's not a world-class system. I've been to Asia, I've been to Japan. They do have, Tokyo has 30 million people. I think Bangkok has 18. We just had a Bangkok delegation from their rail system there. Honolulu is not Bangkok, Honolulu is not Tokyo. It is a much smaller place, but it's a smaller place in the same way that you look at some of our European cities that have the same kind of population that we do. Our system is not like a Tokyo train where there's 10 or 12 cars, coming in a huge station. Ours is 4 cars, and that's what it is. I don't want to sound like I'm real raw, because as I say, my background was not rail, but I see the value of rail, and I think that when we get it all the way to town, at this point, when you say stop digging the hole, it doesn't make sense to stop right now, because we need to get it to where people work and where people are, and that means we have to get to downtown. Ideally, we get to Ala Moana Center. That's where we have our largest bus distribution area there. So I'm very, the ridership that we had did not come into what we had. We had projected about 8,000 on this segment. We're getting about 4,000 right now. And I think part of that is that when we did our modeling, we did not account for the impact that COVID has on our society. We didn't account for the number of people that now work from home and that have, or during COVID, when we told people don't ride mass transit unless it's absolutely essential. A lot of people took our advice, they went out and they bought cars, and it's hard to change that once that's happened. So that's the best I can do for that. I'm not really here to rah for rail, but I'm just trying to tell you the way I see it.
Hello, my name's Jamie Sack, and I live down the street, Mokihana Street. I think this might be for Ken. This thing? Hello?
Okay, never mind. I'm a teacher and you can hear me. But, so I like to go a little bit back towards the speeding situation. And I know that I kind of agree with the man who said, why can't we just change not take out the sign physically, but put a wrapper on it? Like, I mean, the buses have wrappers. There's just a lot of modern technology that could be put on these signs to change it before taking them out. But the concern I have with the speeding is, I think that we need to partner with the HPD because, like, I go jogging around here. I go on Alohea, all the way around Diamond Head Road, and I go on to Kapahulu Avenue. Every single day, speeding, okay, every day. And it's like, why can't we have an officer out there with the little gun, a couple times a week to scare people? Because I teach in Hawaii Kai, and there's always an officer there every month or two that has their radar gun right after the bridge past Roy's, catching people coming down that area. And so I know, like, when I'm going to work, I'm like, okay, go slow because there might be a policeman over there. But my mentality is that if I know there's an officer around there, some surprise, okay, then I'm more apt to behave properly. Of course, I'm a driver's educator, so I can't get a ticket. But the point is, I try not to speed and people all go around me. But in this area, Alohea, it's like a single, 2x2, right? People are going 35. That's the same speed as on Kalania and Oli Highway, where there is 3 lanes separated by a median, and it's ridiculous. And you know what, I think one of the things is these young people who are students at KCC, they don't live in the area, they come from wherever to go to their classes, and they just speed. And I mean, why can't we, I asked the officer one time, why can't you put one of those little thingies that said, your speed is, oh, well, it's a hill. I'm like, so it's okay to speed on the hill? I mean, what is it? So I would like to see more officers out randomly with the radar guns within that circular area of Aloha, around Diamond Head Road and on Kapahulu Avenue, where tons of tourists walking. You know, tons of tourists walking every day to Leonard's. I see them every morning coming back with their Leonard's bag, but boom, these people on Kapahulu Avenue are going 40, guaranteed. But, you know, that's my little spiel. Thanks.
Again, coming from a traffic background, it always makes me chuckle when I hear that, you know, more officers, we need or more officers' presence. Again, I would like to, or what I would hope is that the drivers, through their own, you know, education and their own mindset is like, you know, there's people crossing the street here, there's people jogging, that they bring down their speeds. And it's not because I'm gonna get a ticket, it's because I'm trying to drive safely in this residential area. So, getting, you know what they say, right? Be careful what you ask for, because as you know, and I was in the traffic division when these stoplight cameras came up, right? With all those red light cameras popping up in the downtown area, and now they're actually catching people speeding. Now, it always had the capability to catch people speeding. It's just that they didn't turn it on, but now it's on. So just to be, again, it goes back to my point is that why do we need to have these cameras? Oh, okay, I'm gonna speed over here, I'm gonna run red lights here, but I'm not gonna do it over here because there's cameras, right? Again, you know, it's artificially telling people to slow down. I would like the whole Hawaii to be driving in a safe manner, driving with aloha, because as you know, we share the road with our families, friends, cousins. When you get into an accident, chances are you might know that person, let alone, knock on wood, right? If you injure that person, it could be a family friend or a coworker. So I always try to encourage people to think about what you're doing when you're driving and to be safe.
I'm just gonna add to that. So we all know HPD, you know, they're short-staffed, 400 something plus. So that means that in your beat, in your area, if they're responding to a burglary or domestic violence, you know, they don't always have the officers available to sit out there and to tag people or to run the gun for a couple hours. We do send memos. We do give them the hot spot. So reach out to us. And what we do first is we take the studies. We see if there's speeding. And if there are speeding, high trends, we send these streets to HPD and we ask them for the trailers. So they do put up these trailers for a couple weeks. Everybody knows how it works. For those couple weeks you get tagged, you're gonna slow down. The next couple months, you're gonna slow down. Nobody's there after a while, they're gonna speed up. So that's where we come into play with design. What can we do when HPD is not there? Can I put a bulb out there? Can I put a speed hump there? Can I add delineators? Can I do something physical every day, all the time when HPD cannot be out there? And that's the kind of things that we're looking at. So reach out to us, let us do our study, let us see where the speeding is and what we can do in those areas.
Hello.
Yes, I'd like to say, thank you to Chair Waters for touching on the property tax issue. I'm a resident where I'm the longest living resident on my street since 1959. And I've made no major changes to my property or my home other than re-roofing it and painting it and caring for the yard. But it keeps escalating and escalating. And I'm told It's because the house down the street sold for $3.5 million. So go hit that guy for the property tax. Leave me. Filling out the form that's due by the end of September. You can have it by August 1 if I can get it. Secondly, really quickly, sir, I understand your concern and you want everybody to be good drivers out of the kindness of their heart. That's not the mentality nowadays. Everybody's out for themselves. How fast can I get there? Kilauea, and I'm talking Kilauea from Punakai to Waiai Avenue, is like a freeway speedway. You can hear it all night from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. And then you hear them get on the freeway and they go up and then they come down and they go up again. So those traffic cams, take the picture, would be great. Take the picture of the license plate and ding the owner of the car. Whether they're the driver or not, then they will loan their car to the offenders. But the guy who owns the car should pay the fine. Secondly, on many of our neighborhoods, the streets are narrow.
That's right.
I think, as he said, barely one car. Cars parked at either side of the street. Only one car can go through if you've got so many homes now that either enclose their garages and they rent them out as bedrooms or Airbnbs or whatever it is. You've brought more cars now into the neighborhood. It used to be whatever number of cars you had to be on your driveway. That's when you had a driveway and you had a 1 or 2 car garage. You're supposed to utilize it, but everybody's got their cars on the street. I'd like to suggest that on the narrower streets that we implement flipping the parking only to one side based on the day of the week. If it's an even date, like today is the 23rd, we park on the odd address side of the road, and tomorrow, on an even day, everybody that wants to park on the street puts on the other side. And that will, I feel, force the people who leave their cars out there day after day after day to get out there and move them. And maybe they'll come back onto their car. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we have time for just one more question. It's just at 8 o'clock. Oh, we have.
It's me.
Thank you.
I've got 3 questions at once, but after listening to what I heard, I think I gotta respond to some of this. First of all, I think we need to give a hand and a shout out to our men in blue, because we have to do all these things. And I don't think we have to spend hours in this. It's human behavior we have to deal with, and it's a changing environment. So thank you guys. Going to what the major said though. It takes 2 to get into an accident, right? Car and a pedestrian. But I say there's a 3rd element. I call it GIC, government-induced chaos. If you pull away crosswalks that have been there for 10 years and do not have a solution in place, what are these people supposed to do? They're not going to walk a quarter mile down the road to turn across. Now, I drive Kapahulu almost every night, and I've got to watch not the crosswalk, but where the crosswalks were. And oh my God, I'm probably one of 1,000 that would do that, but I see so many close calls because of the removal of crosswalks without a solution ready to go. And so I ask the city to please be more aware of that these things can induce bad behavior and these accidents. On the other issue, and I think the gentleman left, on the Aloha issue with the roundabout, I was on the committee back in the day, and they were talking about trying to put a traffic calming device. I said, no, bad idea. They didn't listen to me. A week later, they started dredging. The 2 reasons why I said it was a bad idea was 1, Aloha is a major thoroughfare that goes from Waialae all the way over to Diamond Head side. So to KCC, and I think the gentleman was saying, that's one way, or to go get to Waikiki, right, to go down Montserrat, right? So it's a major thoroughfare. Now, all those streets that come off of Hawaii, right, or 6 as it turns into, right, are all downstream and they're high density with children. And I used to live there. What would happen was, when they put that bulb out, what is the natural thing a person is going to do? They're going to, oh, forget it, I'm not going to go there because it's got a bulb out. I'm going to race down the street. And sure enough, I've seen time and time again, kids being put off the street, almost get hit by cars. Now, I'm not going to ask the police department to sit on each corner and watch this stuff, but that was a government-induced chaos device. And it also caused some other issues with the parking in that area. So again, I'm not trying to be that guy, I'm not pointing out, but I think there really takes much broader approach for government and the drivers, HPD, everybody to get it together. Now, I have 3 other questions, but I'll put on top of the list, okay? But I just have to answer those 2 questions because it really does take more of government, and again, HPD can't do it all. No, we can't do it all, and the world is changing, but we also support our government officials as well. Rep. Tina, she's doing a great job. Tommy Waters, Chair Waters did a great job, so thank you so much for this tonight, and a lot.
Figure out, but thank you to Major Tanaka, Director Morton, Kelly. Ended up being very transportation heavy. Thank you, Roy, and especially thank you, Council Chair Tommy Waters and your whole team. I also, before we leave, want to remind you all to use the QR code. Send us if you didn't get a chance to ask questions, like, it's great to talk to you face to face, but you can call us anytime, email us anytime. My office manager, Emily, is right there. She will do everything she can to help you folks. Tommy Waters' team is amazing, so please feel free to get in touch. This is just the start of our conversations. Tommy, you want to say anything?
Yeah, just thank you, everybody. If you have a chance to pick up Representatives or my newsletter, it has all of our contact information. We're here to serve you, so don't hesitate to call, email, or come visit us at the Hollywood. Thank you all for coming tonight, too.